Our region's heart, and I mean real heart, lives in the spirits of some very active and passionate people. They are not just the heart, they're the lifeblood of our community. I really couldn't imagine what this region would be like if we didn't have them. Great founders and musicians emerge not because of their skill, but because of their heart. Today's episode of FML is a great example of what it takes to be great. Join us today to see how a local legend started out and how he became one of the area's leading personalities. Our guest today is the epitome of a founder and a promoter. He turned a single tweet into $1.6 million so far, and I don't doubt it will be a lot more. Please grab a coffee, listen, and learn from our great friend, Mike Farwell. Welcome back to the FML podcast as we gather for our weekly coffee at Eco Coffee and Eco Cafe. Ed's lovely place. I'm joined, as usual, by our music guy, Steve.
Hey.
Yep. That's very rhythmic. And our coffee guy, Ed.
Good afternoon.
See, that's better. That's how you do it, Steve. I'm your founder guy, Bill. Joining us today is none other than Mike Farwell, the voice of 570 here.
Present.
Check.
Accounted
check.
for.
Here he is. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in school again. Here.
Back to the front to the back. So the voice of 570, as I think most people know, the voice of the Kitchener Rangers, the partner of his beloved and now betrothed, Jennifer. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
It's about time.
I know. Surprisingly, she didn't say that, but you're right. It's about
really?
damn time, yes.
Yeah. I hope you got her something big.
As big as I can afford on a radio guy's salary, Bill. You got to keep this in perspective here.
Yeah, you can always get
He
those.
might have got her a duck.
Oh.
If I had talked to you first, Ed, think of the changes I could have made. Diamonds, ducks.
It all starts
diamonds,
with D's.
Exactly. Disaster.
You'd be looking for someone else soon.
That's right. That's right.
And one of the other things that we're going to get into is Mike's work with cystic fibrosis, what got him there, the money he raises for it, and his activity in the community, because Mike is, quite frankly, one of the most active community guys that I've ever known, and one of the builders that strengthens the fabric of our community, and we're really grateful to have him for us as a community, but with us right now on this podcast. So thanks for joining us, Mike.
That's a very kind introduction, and it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a good voice, too.
He does. He should do this for a living.
I might try it one day. I've always been interested. Maybe I'll give it a
You
shot.
certainly have the face for it. All right. Well, I'm going to throw it to Ed because that always starts us off here.
One of the things that I understand in my world is what I do every day. So I run a coffee business. I'm always to and fro. I have to do this, that, the other thing. But it's always my microcosm, my little universe. And I always like to ask guests, what does a day in the life today of Mike look like? And is that, are you on the radio at the crack of stupid? Do you run around and do things that not so much what your job is at this point, but what is it? What does the day in the life look like now?
Yeah, it's a great question because over the years, and there have been many now that I've been in the radio business, I have literally run around the clock. My very first shift was the overnight shift, which doesn't exist anymore, the midnight till 6 a.m. Computers run that now. And I have done the proverbial crack of stupid where my alarm was going off at 2:30 to get up and start a show. So all of those have happened in the past, but currently my on-air shift is from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., so it's a 4-hour talk show. And the old standard in talk radio is for every hour on the air, you should do at least an hour of preparation. I cheat that a little bit, so I get into the station around 6 a.m. So my alarm is about 5:15, get up, grab my coffee, get out the door, and around 6 o'clock, I'm at the station beginning my prep for the show, which again begins at 9, taking me through till 1. And then really, the reason I give myself a break on the front end is because it's the sort of thing that doesn't really stop when you're in talk radio particularly, because you want to stay on top of things. So really, I try to give myself a little window in the afternoon just for me time, maybe walk the dog, maybe exercise a little bit, maybe take a nap. And then from about 4 o'clock on, I'm back on my email, keeping up with things, watching the evening news, scrolling news sites, etc., until it's time to shut her down, hit the sack, and rinse and repeat the next day.
Weekends included?
Less so, but yes. Again, because you're always, at least I am always looking to the next topic, the next show, and making sure I am, and my betrothed will attest to this, I am fanatical about my preparation. I never want to be unprepared or ill-prepared. So when I'm leaving work on a Friday afternoon, I've got a pretty good outline of what Monday looks like, but hey, that's 48 hours of news. And there have been times, I remember sitting on a patio on a beautiful summer's day on a Sunday afternoon when big news happened, and the next thing you knew, I was on the phone with my producer and we were reorganizing the entire show for the next morning because the big news happened on Sunday afternoon. So it never really stops except for those hours I put myself to sleep.
So this, Bill, sounds awfully familiar. We tend to run into that same type of response from most people that come on this show because none of us ever stop. There's a lifestyle component to the things that we do, and whether it's I'm creating coffee or creating content, he's creating music. Bill just recreates a bunch of different things again and again and again.
I had different colors.
But it's there's no timetable, there's no time clock. And that's what I love to hear, because I do imagine what a day in the life is of the person that comes in here and try to imagine what that would look like to us. And in the end, it sounds pretty familiar.
Hectic. Crazy.
But
you didn't even go into the stuff, the season you're coming into.
We'll get to that.
The Kitchener Rangers.
Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah, and that adds another a nighttime component or an afternoon component on weekends.
It does. And what I would add, and I'm sure, Ed, with the length of time you've been doing what you're doing in the coffee industry, if you don't have a passion for it, it's just not going to work, right? You would have been out of coffee a long time ago. I would have been out of broadcasting a long time ago.
I should have been out of coffee.
I should have been out of broadcasting. So, we got that in common, too.
But you get past that stage, and then all of a sudden it makes sense.
Absolutely.
It just takes a little longer for some of us than others. But
yeah.
I get it.
Well, okay, so you've come to this place, and this is your life now, but how did you start out? Like, what was life like as a 5-year-old Mike? What kind of kid were you? What did you get involved with? What motivated you?
Fill
in the blanks.
That's an excellent and loaded question. But because it wasn't long after I was 5-year-old Mike, I would have been 7 or 8, whatever. But I actually would record myself doing play-by-play of the Leafs games on Saturday night. I'm not kidding. If I could ever have found any of that, it would just be such a hoot. But I would turn down the volume on the TV and watch the Leafs game and do my own version of the play-by-play when amazing. I was just a wee lad. So,
see, I got lucky on that question. That is brilliant.
But the thing about it is, and probably, so many years have gone by, as good a reason as any that the tapes don't exist anymore. But I was also a painfully shy kid. So I did that, but I did that at home in the basement by myself. Sometimes parents were around, I guess. But and outside of that, forget about it. I was so shy. How shy were you? That my father, who was my high school principal, went to my English teacher, Mr. Tucker, in grade 10, and said, "Can you do anything to get Mike out of his shell? Because
No
he's
kidding.
so
Wow.
shy."
No kidding.
And Mr. Tucker was unsuccessful in that. But Steve would appreciate Alan Hoke, who was my drama teacher in grade 11. And so here's a little bit more about me as you peel back the layers. In high school, when I was there, you needed an arts credit. I can't draw a stick person with a ruler. I couldn't carry a tune if it had handles. So what's the art credit I'm going to take? I can handle drama. I'll figure this part out. And thanks to Alan Hoke particularly, fell in love with it. Next thing you know, I'm on stage doing musical theater, and a whole new world opened up to me.
Wow.
No kidding.
No kidding.
See, I was going to say I was on your team because I have no skill in music, no skill in arts, the only thing I ever...
He has a lot of drama, though.
Well, yeah, that falls
There's a lot of drama there.
I gave up the drama career too. No, I liked photography.
Sure.
And the digitization of it kind of lost its enchantment for me personally because it was never about taking pictures. It was about developing. That was really cool, but it's also time consuming and blah, blah, blah. But so participation in drama or school thing, not a chance.
Yeah.
So I appreciate coming out of that shell and going right into the heart of it.
It's absolutely true.
You
And
went to St. Jerome's, right?
I did.
Mr. Hoke. I never had Mr. Hoke. I had Mr. Klaus.
Yeah, Mr. Klaus was the director of our
Santa?
big
So
productions.
I was the same.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
Did you get in trouble if you called him that?
He had a naughty list. Oh yeah.
I was the same way. I came from, a school that went from 7 to 10,
Okay.
and then St. Jerome's,
Yeah.
which had already had like grade 9, 10 development. I was like 4'11".
I'm still
Coming into
4'11".
No. Yeah, I think you've hit
Sprouted
the
a
pie.
little bit, yeah.
I think maybe it's the shows you're wearing.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it was the same deal, and it was Mr. Klaus that said you've got to you've got to come into the cabaret and just try it out. And he said, well, there's 2 reasons you should do it. First of all, it's over at St. Mary's, the all-girls school. And there's going to be maybe 4 guys max over there and all the girls. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's...
I believe they
might have a chance.
I believe they call that a target-rich environment. No?
Yes. That's how I got into marketing, too. So he got me into it, and that sort of opened things up. It's amazing. I talk about first followers or influencers, the ones that actually see potential and opportunity in other people and try to build them up and bring them, give them opportunities and let them try things out. And it opens up a world that they never knew existed. And so Mr. Hoke, Mr. Klaus.
I wish I could remember the words that Mr. Hoke used, because I was taking the drama credit to fulfill my arts credit. That's it. I was going to take one. I only needed one, and I was one and done. And Mr. Hoke insisted that I audition for My Fair Lady in grade 11. That was the production we were doing. And I'm still stubborn. I was stubborn then, and I was resisting. And I wish I could remember, because he played me so well. I used to have this little Super Ball, the little Indian rubber balls and I carried it with me, and I could fling it out of my hand and have it bounce back to me. I'd walk the halls doing this. And the day that Mr. Hoke convinced me to audition, he had taken my ball from me to get my attention, to have this conversation. And I'm so sorry I can't remember how he did it, but at the end of it, he did a spiel, and he had threatened to not give my ball back, and then he tosses it back to me, and I'm like, okay, I got my ball back. I heard what you said. Ding dang it, I'm gonna audition for My Fair Lady. But that Super Bowl, I remember it, and he
Is this how Jennifer got you to say, "Please marry me"? Well, I'm gonna give you your ball back.
Yes, exactly it. I present my beloved with a diamond ring, and I forget
and a
the
Super
words.
Bowl.
Yeah, and a Super Bowl.
You should have put it on the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so good if only it was that big.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you went from there. You did the My Fair Lady.
I did.
Did that open things up for you? Did you a changed person?
I truly have not shut up since.
But did
Really?
you stick with the drama, or at that point, like
I did,
You knew radio was the thing, or you didn't know at that point?
No, I did. And this is the other thing for that really shy kid. But radio, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. I'll throw the WKRP reference in there. And I have been fascinated with the medium since I can remember. And I thought, this is the coolest thing. Like, I wanted to work at a radio station, but it didn't strike me as a job.
Did you know people in the radio industry?
No, only the people. I used to play the radio.
WKRP?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
those people, yes.
Les Nessman.
Absolutely. And every one of them exists in radio stations.
Oh,
Just
100%.
Absolutely they do.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend, and her brother worked in a small studio in Boston, which was radio, and then they added a video component because video was getting hot in the days. That's how long ago it was. But it was an eclectic group of people always that it worked in that environment. Like never, there was no access for someone like me, but he loved it, and he did that and was a flight steward for Swiss Air. So like, imagine that life. Oh yeah. Travel the world anywhere you wanted, and then you do this, media thing the whole time. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's great. It's great. So it just didn't strike me as a real job. My father, as I already mentioned, was an educator, 33 years with the Catholic School Board here in town. And he went to work every day with a jacket and a tie, carrying a briefcase. That's what a job looks like. So I never uttered out loud, I want to be in radio or work in radio. And I went to school and I became a teacher. And then I did that for a year. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Did you really?
I did.
Where did you teach?
Monsignor Doyle, you poor kids. You poor kids. And 1 year, and I'm like, this is not my calling. I can't. And that was hard for me,
You
too.
did a whole year?
I did a whole year.
2 days.
Attaboy. You were out then, too. It's madness.
It is crazy.
I have all the respect in the world for
Amen.
the people who do it.
My whole family are teachers, well, like your dad. And,
yeah.
I heard the complaints. I should have picked up on it.
Every job has a complaint.
Well, it took you 2 days to pick up on it. It took me a full 2 semesters.
Yeah. Some of us are quicker than others.
True. That's true. My sister did follow in the family footsteps, and she's a principal now herself.
Oh, nice.
But I got the HE double hockey sticks out of there, reversed course, went back to school to study broadcasting, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow. So where'd you go to study broadcasting?
Conestoga College.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had you done any evaluation? Obviously, that's a big move. I mean, a teaching career is, a lot of people wanted to get into it. And it's a lot of work back then to get into it. You had to be smart. You were probably smarter than I was.
Well, was I, though? Because I've thought of what you just said, Bill. And had I stuck with it, I'd be coming into my final year before retirement with a full pension.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
So tell me the right move I made or the wrong move. Now I'm looking back. Because in case you didn't know, kids, radio does not pay good money at all. It does not pay well. So I might have been further
But you make
ahead.
a lot of friends.
You do, and you have a hell of a lot of fun. And I know lots of teachers that do, too.
You've got 112 friends.
But you also don't have...
I'm number 112, by the way.
You don't have to stare
I
down...
should have been 99, but I'm 112.
You also don't have to stare down 30 individuals every day of your life and have
true.
Their lives depend on you. That's tough. That's a tough gig.
It's a very tough gig.
I have a lot of respect.
A bit of control over what goes on your show. Like, do you have that a little bit of freedom? I know teachers have freedom within a framework. You have to meet these goals by the end of a semester. How much freedom do you have in your programming? I think that'd be interesting to know.
I've never heard you swear. I've heard dig dang.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. So I was going to answer that, which I think is a great question with all of it. I have all of the freedom.
Nice.
With the exception of, but I would not.
Yeah.
I would
you
not.
wouldn't anyways.
It doesn't even occur to me to break rules that would get our license suspended or me fired or anything like that. But within the confines of the job,
So you didn't pull a Howard Stern.
I have not. No,
No.
I would. I have always kind of dreamed about pulling a Johnny Fever to go back to WKRP, which was very influential on me. Johnny Fever one day told people during a garbage strike that they should just take their garbage down and leave it on the steps of City Hall, and people did it. And I'm like, I want, like, do I wield that much influence? Probably not, but I've always been curious. But to come back to the question, yeah, I feel so lucky. I really do, with the people that employ me today. And granted, I've been at this 30 years now, so I hope I've earned a little bit of the credit that they give me. But it's entire. I am left completely alone. Which, I mean, some days I'm like, hello, can anybody help me out a little bit here? But most of the time, like 97% of the time, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's literally the show that I want to put on the air every day.
But you're also a producer then.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So are there people that have similar jobs that have a producer and then they just come in and read or do a little bit of briefing and...
Very much so.
Yeah,
My good friend Craig Norris over at CBC KW, who I'd love to have his job some days, because I'm like, it's a little bit easier over there, right? You can show up with these notes and the briefings, but yeah. So, and that speaks to the whole 24/7 kind of nature of this. Not only are you always looking for the next thing, but then you're finding the person to talk about that thing, and it's constant motion and constant effort required, but also it's not like I'm digging ditches, right? I'm sending emails, I'm scouring sources, I'm consuming information. So,
all right, hold on. We jumped from one year as a teacher back to Conestoga College.
Yep.
How does the career ensue from there? Once you know you want broadcasting, do you want to be a reporter? Do you want to be a war consultant? Do you want to be?
Good question.
Is it war consultant? No, what do they call them?
Foreign correspondent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Foreign correspondent.
Yeah.
It's sexier.
It
much
is.
sexier. So, like, where does it go from there at that point?
I was convinced of one of two things when I started down this path. I was either going to be the next John Derringer on Q107, who I enjoyed listening to, or the next Bob Cole on Hockey Night in Canada.
Oh, yes. I could see you as Bob Cole.
Well, important to point out, I have turned out to be neither of those individuals.
Yeah.
But if you had told me when I left Conestoga College in 1996 that 30 years later, not only would I still be working in radio, but that I would be hosting a talk show, I would not have believed you for 1 second. I was much more interested in being an announcer on a music radio station, a rock radio station preferably, which of all the radio stations I've worked at in my life, I still have not done rock radio, which kind of cheeses me off.
Seriously.
We could start one.
You try.
There you go.
I do hear you try to slip in Rush periodically.
Every chance I get, absolutely. It deserves it. They deserve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so I started out my very first job. I graduated in April of 96, and August of that year, I hopped on a plane and went out to British Columbia, and I was an announcer on a music station that played light rock, Celine Dion, Elton John, etc. And I did evenings and weekends. So Saturday, Sunday morning from 6 till noon, Monday, Tuesday evening from 6 until midnight, and then I had a Friday kind of general office day where you get your hands into everything from producing commercials to answering telephones to working in the newsroom. And after a couple of years, and I was getting kind of itchy to move up and find a bigger market and more things to do, and my news director out in British Columbia said to me, well, you've said you're interested in sports. If you want to get into sports, you got to get into news. That's the way into sports. So I said, okay. And then a radio station in Thunder Bay hired me as a news reporter.
Why that transition that way? Is that just a standard in the industry?
It's a very good question. I guess that maybe because honestly today, I'm not sure I would tell somebody that. But then that's
well, maybe
what I
they
was
thought
told.
that you had to be able to tell a story straight from a news perspective to be able to be credible for sports.
Yeah,
that would make sense, I guess. But
yeah,
and I think back on another Q107 announcer, Andy Frost, who did public address announcing for the Leafs at the Air Canada Centre, and was I think he was doing evenings at Q107. But yeah, I don't know. But I don't think it's necessarily that connected a path anymore. I tell young people today who are interested in the industry, announcers announce. Right? If you're working at a country radio station today and you want to work at a jazz station tomorrow, as long as you can tell a story, as long as you can effectively communicate during the time that is allotted you to talk, then it doesn't matter to me what station you were working on before.
So you went to Thunder Bay.
Went to Thunder Bay.
How did the path lead back to Waterloo?
It was always on my mind. And in fact, to go back to my academic years, geography, not my strong suit. And so
you were lost.
In a manner of speaking,
How do I get home from BC?
yeah, exactly. And so when I decided that it was time to move on from British Columbia, I actually came very close prior to landing in Thunder Bay to becoming the play-by-play voice of the Fort McMurray oil barons. I made the short list. I got the nicest rejection letter I've ever received, but it didn't work out. So I started thinking, well, if I'm going to move, I got to get back closer to home. Thunder Bay's in Ontario, right? Lord, did I know that Ontario is so damn big. Like, oh my goodness. And so, again, to go back to not making...
I'm almost home.
Exactly.
It's just the lake.
If I could just get over it or around it. So, to not making much money in radio, I didn't have a car. And so when I'm in Thunder Bay, in order to get home, I would take a Greyhound bus home to come back to Waterloo Region.
22 hours later?
22 hours. That's exactly what it would take.
How did you know?
I've been on a lot of Greyhounds.
Oh my word! It was
Greyhound used to be
incredible.
the highway back in my day.
It was. You nailed it. Exactly what it was. Like you'd be stopping in these highway rest stops, splashing water and freshening up your pits because it's nasty in there after 20 hours.
Sometimes they cut your head off, too.
I've heard that.
Only in Winnipeg.
Only in Winnipeg.
So that was the back and forth there for a little while, and then eventually from Thunder Bay back into southern Ontario, and I've kind of been between here and Toronto ever since.
So, who did you follow? Like you said, you had aspirations of being like Bob Cole.
Yep.
But it's a series of connections and networking and relationships that sort of enable you to get back to where you want to be.
Yes and no. The relationships certainly came in to play later. There's no question about it, where people wanted to hire me, were willing to hire me, put in good words for me. I was awfully lucky early on. And jobs were easier to come by. There were more jobs available, quite frankly. As I said, my very first job, which was a part-time job in Brantford, overnights, midnight until 6 a.m. Like those shifts, even 7 until midnight, it doesn't exist at a radio station anymore. Weekends don't exist at a radio. You might hear an announcer, but it's all recorded and et cetera, et cetera. So I wasn't really following a person. And at that point, I'm not sure I was even necessarily thinking about an end game. I was just thinking about the next radio job. Yeah.
Right.
So I did have an interest.
But you're also trying to get back to this area.
Yes.
So what's the next game over closer to the region here?
Yeah.
And is it because of family, or is there something about this community that, so obviously you've been in a few communities then. Was there something about this, other than the family, this community that drew you?
No. Initially, it was just because this was home.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back here, again, I would just chalk it up to good fortune to have come to understand how special this place is. And I will insist on that until my last breath. I really will. And I so value the perspective I got in those other communities.
Yes. Yeah. We had Jesse Rogers on our last episode, and he's building the Builders Club. And he was a founder of one of the tech companies, very passionate about this area, but he was from Sault Ste. Marie.
The north, as you said, the north, up in the north.
Up in the north. And all the things that were not happening up there. And the knowledge, he ended up going to university here, but he recognized that this was a builder's community. And it's not something that exists in a whole lot of other places. We sort of champion the idea makers. And so we're surrounded by it here. Is this something that you've seen throughout? You interview a lot of people, a lot of developers, a lot of builders, a lot of creators, a lot of politicians, every aspect of it. And one of the things that Jesse was saying was that this is really a unique place.
I couldn't agree more. And I would, from my perspective and in my role, fall back on that barn raiser word or mentality that we talk about a lot around here. And I've heard, some folks wanting to distance us as a community from that. I'm not ready to do that at all.
Me neither.
I believe
I keep talking about the Mennonite community.
Absolutely.
I keep talking about how if your neighbor's barn gets blown or burned down, almost within the next week or two, all the other community members are raising the barn.
Exactly. And I could list for you a rather exhaustive list of names, from teachers to politicians to guests on the show, you name it, that I've had the privilege to learn from without them necessarily taking me under their wing and saying, Mike, let me show you how we're going to do this. They just do what they do. And they are so generous with their time, their commitment. It just rubs off. You can't help but raise a barn or two yourself around here when you encounter all these other folks that are doing it or have done it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm big in the St. Jacobs community, and I was on the board of the BIA for a long time.
Sure.
And you build things because you want to, because you're socially and emotionally engaged with the rest of the people in the community to drive to a common goal. And it's very infectious. It's like, oh my God, we can actually get things done. And it's a dopamine of success for everybody around you. And it is unique to hear. I mean, I was going to say earlier when we were talking about, for me, I was going to ask if it's, do you think that the builder's mentality is due to the universities? So you've always had that university perspective ingrained into somewhere that's out in the middle of the country. So there was knowledge, there was, teachers, educators, there are people thinkers that converse a lot. Is that the seed that created the other, or is the other created because the seed was here?
Yeah, where the university is created because the seed was here.
Maybe it's that crossroad of both barn builders and educators thrown out in the middle of nowhere that you come up with really, life-changing things versus where in other places it won't happen.
I think it's a key part of the DNA. I really do. Because if you think about the University of Waterloo in and of itself, it's a very entrepreneurial story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that just kind of embedded itself. And I love what you said a moment ago, Ed, that when you're working as you do in the St. Jacobs community and on the BIA, and you build things because you wanted to. You didn't say because they benefited you. But you wanted to build something that would maybe benefit St. Jacobs.
Right.
And that's what I think is incredibly special around here. People do things not because it gives them personal gain or it helps their profile or brand. They do it because it's for the betterment of the whole. They're thinking beyond themselves. And I love that, and I find it very infectious.
Are you I don't want to be negative.
Since when?
Well, yeah.
Since when? Because I always start these things, I'm going to be positive. It's going to be, but the population has grown, and it has. I think when I moved here, there was 29,000 in Waterloo, and now we have 170, 180 in Waterloo, just the city of Waterloo, and collectively we're well over 500,000 in the region. And do you see that impacting that spirit of community?
I think yes would be my instinctive answer to that. I remember, oh gosh, how long back does this go? 15 years. Anyway, there was this thing called the Awesome Foundation. It was KW Awesome Foundation.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah. And that's where the hashtag KW Awesome came from. But I was approached to join, and it was a really cool idea. Basically what we did as a group was fund awesome ideas. What's an awesome idea? Well, people would come and make their pitches, and we would all 4 times a year throw $100. And I think there were 12 of us, so they got $1,000, and the runner-up got $200 for their awesome idea. And the one I remember best is the so-called guerrilla gardener, and I'm sure you know his work because he's the guy that plants the happy faces on the hillsides along the expressway.
Yeah.
So I mean, how awesome is that? Here's $1,000 for your seeds and your effort and et cetera, et cetera. But what made me think of that is when I was approached to join it, and I got to know an entirely new group of people who were much younger than I was. They talked about how here in Waterloo region, it was a bit of an exclusive club. And if you weren't in it, it was tough to break into it. And this was a group of really passionate young people who wanted to do things, wanted to be a part of something, but found it difficult to kind of break in.
Interesting.
And so it struck me that, as a lifer essentially in this community and having a family that was very community minded and involved, it just sort of happened for me, right? Farwell, just the name opened a whole lot of doors for me.
Yeah.
Well, so that was an eye opener.
When I first met you in St. Jacobs, actually, I thought your name was popular because there was a convenience store on Lancaster.
But that was Farwell.
But that was the family.
But honestly, I always thought that was where he came from.
Close enough.
Yeah.
That was the Farwells and Farwells were all intertwined going back to St. Clements.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So
does it go all the way back to the ships coming over from England and someone not spelling the name right?
No, it's funny though. It's funny. I was just with my aunt yesterday who keeps the best history of our family. And so she would be the expert. But as you would know, in this very German community, it wasn't exactly, or as you would understand, it wasn't exactly the most popular thing to be German in and around 1944.
In a town called Berlin?
Yeah. So we had moved from Berlin by that point. But anyway, so to anglicize the name a little bit more, we morphed from Farwell, which is more Germanic, to Farwell, and here
Really?
we are.
That's Farwell's the English?
No, Farwell is the English. Farwell's the more Germanic.
Wow, I would have thought it was backwards for some reason. But I guess now German has a lot of O's in it.
Yeah.
I'm a linguist.
Yeah,
so you caught me in a. Sorry, by education, I was a linguist, and so when things of language come up, it sparks a whole new thought process. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I noticed I used to be a member of Rotary, and it was, and it's still a very extensive club, and it's changed its rules to be a lot more inclusionary, and still does a lot of things. Recently, I joined the Kiwanis in Elmira as a Waterlooite, largely because it's time for me to give back to the community again. And so I'm meeting with these guys, and I'm the youngest guy there.
Oof.
I know, right? Oh, yeah, I may not be there may be a couple more that are young. And we're trying to really find younger people to get involved. And how do we change things up? And how do we make it more attractive to, say, the 40-year-olds? And I even know when I was part of Rotary, I was a coach, I was a convener, I was a music director. I was doing all these other things too. So it was very challenging from a time perspective to even commit when you're involved in all this other stuff. And I see a lot of parents doing the coaching and very involved with their kids, as they should be. But trying to find ways and means of getting these people to get engaged once again has been our challenge. Have you seen that at all in other organizations or throughout? Because you get involved with almost all of them, I would imagine, in one way, shape, or form.
This is an across-the-board challenge. No question about it. And the answer to it, I'm not sure anybody's quite stumbled on it yet. I would even take that same challenge to one of my passions in this community, which is the work I do as a broadcaster for the Kitchener Rangers. I go around this Ontario Hockey League from our market to the 19 others, and there's a running joke in Peterborough that they have maybe the oldest demographic, the oldest fan base in the entire league. But we even see it here in Kitchener. You look at the people that have had seasons tickets for 30, 40, 50 years because it was the thing to do around here and still is. But boy, oh boy, it's an older demographic. There's no question about it. So from service clubs, volunteer, organizations that rely on volunteers, look at the average age of volunteers. Been to the hospital lately?
Yeah.
It's incredible. So I think across the board, all sectors are looking. And I really think think of hockey and what it means to not just the fabric of this community with the Rangers, but the country and how meaningful the game is to us.
Well, even how it was for us with the legacy of the hockey, with the Bowers and the
oh my gosh, sure,
the Krautline and all of that.
Yep.
It really is.
But
defined.
It's the internet. It's devices. It's accessibility to video. Like I have a 14-year-old in this big scope of things. It's odd for me to have a kid that young, but he's a high-level athlete. And so he doesn't consume the same things that we consume in the same way. So that hockey highlight from last night, they've got it clipped on the internet and they've seen it. And why would I waste 2 hours to go to a game to watch that one highlight? That's their mentality. It's they consume it in microseconds versus we used to go do things. Because there was no other way. But you belonged to clubs because you got to talk to people. You became part of a church because you communed with everybody. But now everyone's on WhatsApp, so you can still have that same conversation before it was physical.
I think you're absolutely right. And to just keep with the sports thing, I've been doing this has been my 25th season coming up in the Ontario Hockey League. You get on those buses and make a road trip, right?
They're all staring at their phones.
But we used to watch movies
together.
Oh,
right.
There would be... Sometimes I try to get work done and it's too damn noisy. I'm like, you kids, settle down. But now I miss it. I miss it so much because it was a shared experience.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't care what the movie was. We would sometimes convince them to watch Slapshot, but I'll never forget the year we watched Step Brothers over and over and over and over again. I could probably still quote half the movie for you, right? And Will Ferrell, but the kids loved it. But the shared experience, and you nailed it. And now the bus is as quiet as it used to be when the players just had a bad game and got a whole lot of heck from the coach, right? So it's so different because everybody's just wrapped up in their own thing.
We got to find a way to get these kids involved as barn raisers.
Couldn't agree more.
But well, no one can solve that problem yet with the consumption of data and think of how much information we manage as adults. Kids have that same access and they have that same ability. And I'm not saying it's good, bad. It could be fake. It could be real. It's not even about the content itself. It's just the fact that they have access to unlimited information. We had to find things to do, but that's why we could also do dumb things. So you could go out into the woods and have a rock fight because that made sense. There was no TV to watch. There was no radio to listen to. It was, this is a really good idea. I mean, sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. But now it's not like that. And how do we... I don't know if you can bring that back or you can reel that back in.
I was walking this morning with my dog. I've got a dog walkers group. And one of the guys in our group is a prof at one of the universities. And he said, I didn't let my kids have a smartphone until they were 18. And they hated me for it. But now they're in their 20s and they're in university and they're saying, Dad, I'm so glad that you didn't let us have a smartphone because they got to experience life in a whole different way than all the kids that they're going to school with because all those kids grew up with a smartphone and these guys grew up to experience things that they never did.
I think there's a lot of, for our mentality, yes, that makes sense. For their mentality, it doesn't because when you're talking about
it's a social paradigm. It's a
right.
It's a required.
I grew up in the era when
connection.
Radios started becoming carryable. Like I remember that. So like you're talking about phones now, but I remember when radios. My sister had this weird round thing that she could hook onto her bicycle and play music and ride her bicycle around. And it was such a novel idea. Yeah. And the portable radios were just starting. My dad had a whole collection of them hidden away. But those, like, who has that now? No, they don't even know what it is. They're like, what is that device? What does it do? Well, if you turn the button and the volume. But our parents thought we were crazy. They thought, oh, that's going to ruin you. You're going to, so.
Well, look what it did to Mike. I mean,
I'm a shadow of my former self.
It gave him it gave him a life.
Yeah, it does. And we talked about this in the last episode. I'm a grumpy old man going, oh, darn those kids. But one of the things I do worry about is that fabric of community. And how do we get
I think it is
engaged?
Fabric, and I don't know if there's always certain people that will still be engaged. But it's a small...
It's a digital fabric. It's not a strong weave in my mind. I could be old guy.
No, listen, I'm right with you, and I confess to worrying about it probably more than I should. I mean, what am I going to do? But I feel as though the devices control us as opposed to the other way around, right? Because it dings or that little red light flashes the signal that says there's a message, and you're like Pavlov's dog, right? And we have moved into a place where you can shop from your couch. You can have Amazon, right? Buy what you want, and it'll be there the next day.
Well, look what's happened to retail as a result.
Exactly. You can get your groceries delivered. You can have food delivered. We are creating a culture where you don't have to leave your home. And I've been reading some fascinating and yet terrifying stuff about chatbots and artificial intelligence as legitimate companionship now.
Oh, they're therapy. They're replacing therapists.
And beyond therapists, though, but I'm talking personal,
friends.
intimate relationships.
Yeah.
And some of the research is telling us that this is not only acceptable today, but this is becoming normalized. I find that very difficult. I will always crave, and I promise you, that I will be the old guy in the coffee shop with any other old guys that want to join me and still scream at clouds in the morning. Before,
me too.
That's what we do here.
That's the whole purpose of not doing this over Zoom,
right?
Because if that were the case, I'm out. I want to just have a conversation, and I want to pull on threads, and I want to see reactions, and I need that feedback of conversation that comes by sitting and watching each other's faces.
Yes,
that's what. Also, children or childhood don't know that anymore. They do it through headsets and gaming, and they're having just as long engagement as we do. They use a different methodology. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't understand it. I don't want to be a part of it. I still need this, but they've never had this to not know what it's like, if that makes sense, right? So it is a strange phenomenon. One day I wake up and it's the world is over, and the next day it's the world's going to be better.
Well, I saw this morning kids on bikes. A whole pack of kids on bikes. It's like, is this a throwback?
But they probably all had, ear pods. And
no, they were yelling at
amazing.
each other,
Wow.
and I think they're out there.
Maybe.
They
that's
are.
my hope. They are out there.
I'm kidding.
But I had I had a tech partner, and I was all for this digital craze. I was leading the charge in this
Because of you, it
area.
happened, right?
It's my fault.
Yeah,
I'm
it is your
sorry.
fault.
And
Okay,
I can't
now we
take
know
it
who to
back.
blame.
Bill invented the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
And then
Yeah,
he made it public.
It wasn't that vice president down there, Mr. Gore. That was me, man. No, but I was all for it because I saw it as a means, as a coach and as a convener and as a parent. Back in 2000, I hated having to go to the arena just to get a schedule, or it was so inconvenient, or to talk to the coach about the schedule or players or whatever. And so having an online forum, that excited me. It made it easier to run a team, and it made it easier to organize things and communicate. And I saw that value, and there is that value there. It can be a wonderful tool, but then what it's become. And I remember my tech partner saying, and this, I'm talking almost 25 years ago, he's saying, there's going to be a time when you don't even have to travel. You'll just go in this pod and you'll put on these headsets and these glasses, and you'll have all these sensory things, and you'll feel like you're in Mexico or Greece or Italy, and you'll get all the experiences, the smells, the culture, without ever having to leave your home. I'm thinking, oh man, what a dead environment that would be. Like, what a dead existence if it was just fed by electrons. And now we're getting there.
Well, back in the 70s, we called it LSD. And I do remember those days, those references, those times.
Okay, well, one of the things we should move on to something that I think is really important to talk about, and that's your sisters. No, not about your sisters. You don't have to talk about your sisters, but cystic fibrosis and how you started Farwell for Hire, and how it evolved, how you got people involved, and what it's grown to. Maybe you could just give us some insights onto that amazing campaign.
We should talk about my sisters, really, because they are the inspiration for the campaign. Watching them in their daily lives, living as best they could with cystic fibrosis, was nothing short of inspirational for me. And kind of going back to what I said earlier about the number of barn raisers in the community who are raising barns without seemingly intentionally raising those barns, but they're rubbing off on you in various ways. And so I would look back at my sisters in that very same way, because the struggle that they went through, for those that aren't aware, cystic fibrosis in a nutshell affects primarily the lungs and the digestive system. So it's very hard to put on weight, and your body doesn't process the foods the same way. And then with the lungs, the description that's always used is it's the equivalent of breathing through a straw. So these two young women lived their lives basically breathing through a straw. And I would say, I think with in fairness, that they lived every single day to the maximum of their ability, and it was fantastic. After I lost them, after we as a family lost them, and it happened within a 9-month period, which for both, which to this day I cannot understand how my parents managed to absorb that blow. And so, at that point, we had done some fundraising. While my sisters were alive, we ran these little neighborhood carnivals, and local businesses would support. And we'd make like $60 or $70, or I think the last year we did it, we made over 100. And we're kids, like we're 11, 12, 13 years old. We were pretty proud of ourselves back in the 1980s for that. After Luann and Sherry, my sisters, passed away, I had enough of cystic fibrosis, because it was quite the little community within our community. You hung out together because cross-contamination was dangerous and things like this with germs and whatnot. So we were CF families kind of hanging out together. There was an old Rotary Club, which is now a parking lot across from, what do we call it now? Wren at Midtown, but KW, Grand River Hospital. There was a Rotary Center there that we would be able to go to. I think it was Tuesday nights, but where CF families would gather, so we could swim and we could go to the gym and we could have apple juice and cookies at the end, and just as a little community. And anyway, so my sisters pass, and I take a break from all things CF, because it had been a quarter century of it, and watching them at the end was incredibly difficult. It was incredibly difficult to watch the disease take its final toll. And so after a while, I was inspired actually by somebody in our community. Neil Aitchison was the gentleman. He was emceeing an event I was at, and he talked about community service being the rent we pay for the space that we occupy. And it really just kind of had a light bulb moment for me. And I thought, well, I should do something for my community, because I do occupy space around here, and I'm pretty damn lucky to have that space. And all I could think about as a skill that I could offer somebody was to be like Neil. I could be your MC for your event. That's something that I have. I'm comfortable doing it. You might not be, et cetera, et cetera. So I started just by going out on an annual basis and emceeing the big cystic fibrosis fundraiser every year. And that was kind of dipping my toe back into it. Mm-hmm. And so I would do that annually, feeling like I'm trying to give back to something. And after a while, I started doing some fundraising for it as well. So the annual fundraiser would come up, and I'd be like so many other people. The email blast would go out to all of my contacts. Hey, the big fundraiser's coming up. Will you throw some money my way? And, and I started getting tired of asking, like, oh, it must be May because here comes Farwell with his ask for fundraising. And so I started doing things that would try to, I felt like I had to give something. Right, so I did a charity boxing match with Fitz the Whip Vanderpool. I sat in a dunk tank at Waterloo Public Square. I jumped out of an airplane. All of these different things to raise some extra money. And then once I did the airplane,
you shave your head?
I did not. No, this is all natural,
That's
baby.
real? Okay.
All natural. Yeah. After the airplane, I'm like, well, now you kind of painted yourself into a corner because I don't know what's next. and so, like I've said this. I don't know how many times, but it's the God's honest truth. Farwell for Hire was an accident. I hadn't heard of anything like this before. I've since learned this might have been a university or college thing where you had quote unquote slaves for a day. And forgive me for that, but that's what it used to be like, I guess.
Remember those. Yeah.
So I hadn't heard of anything like that, but I thought, listen, if I'm going to keep asking for money, I just felt compelled. I have to give something in exchange. So I started it with one simple post on Twitter, X back in the day, with the hashtag Farwell for Hire with my pitch. Like, I will come and mow your lawn and you will pay me, but your payment is a donation to cystic fibrosis. And that was in May of 2014. And it was all done on social media, Twitter, Facebook. And it took off like I never could have imagined. And in the first year, we raised more than $20,000. And so I thought, well, this is something. And so
I could quit my job and do this.
I wish I had thought of that because it's funny. I was doing my job and doing this. Right. And it got to, it got so busy by the, like that first year, my intention was, because our big fundraiser is always the last Sunday in May. So in my mind, when I created this, I'm gonna do these odd jobs right up until the last Sunday of May, and then I'm gonna take all my money to the fundraiser and say, look what we did. I was so busy, I kept going till the end of the month that year because it was people wanted, like, come and do this, come and do that, and I should confess too, that first year, because I didn't know if this was gonna work at all, but I had to be authentic about it. So I touched base with some friends that were business owners. Rob Brady at Brady's Meats.
Oh yeah, great guy.
Fantastic guy.
Great guy.
I said, listen, can you give me a shift on a Saturday? Pay me what you would pay a worker at your butcher shop, and it'll be a donation. And another buddy who had a DQ franchise, another friend who had a Tim Hortons. And so I planned out my Saturdays. So if nobody hired me, at least I'd have my Saturdays filled. And so that's how it all started. That was the first year. And fast forward, like after that first year, like I said, $20,000, I thought, well, we got something. And I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again. And now I've done that for 12 years running, just finished the 12th campaign. And we've raised $1.6 million. $1.6 million. Like, it's insane. It's insane.
From one Twitter. From one tweet.
So there you go. Yeah. There's the opposite side of the coin right there, is that social media had its benefit.
It
gave you that impetus to go big. A personal question that I want to ask would be, as far as cystic fibrosis is concerned and the income of monies to, whether it be define it, figure it out. Like, I know nothing about the actual disease because I've never been afflicted or known anybody to be so, right? So has there been discoveries, improvements? Is there knowledge that gives benefit to families today? Out of curiosity.
Yes, and yes. And this is one of my favorite parts about this. My sisters are my inspiration. Mm-hmm. There's no question about that. But I sincerely believe in my heart of hearts that we're like on the cusp of a cure for this thing. But to directly answer your question, the advancements have been incredible, absolutely incredible. So when my sisters were alive, and we lost them in the early 90s, 93 and then 94. And the average life expectancy for somebody with cystic fibrosis is 24 years of age.
Jeez.
As of today, we're into the 50s.
Wow.
People are, and,
no kidding,
and because of the advancements that have been made, the quality of life is infinitely improved. So not only are you not, it's not guaranteed, it's not promised, but
There's hope.
on average, you have a longer life ahead of you with a better quality of life. The latest advancement that's been made is a treatment called, a drug called Trikafta. And I have talked to a gentleman in his 50s here in town that once he was approved for it and started taking it, he said it's literally an overnight difference. The day before, I was out of breath by the time I got to the top of the stairs. I started Trikafta, and the next day I was not out of breath. Like, that's how incredible this treatment is. And so I'm ecstatic about that. The very best research into this disease is being done right here in Canada, either at Sick Kids or at McMaster in Hamilton. It's fantastic. That side of the story is incredibly encouraging, and I'm so hopeful that we're actually going to cure it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, another question, because like I said, no experience. Is it
It's genetic.
genetic, and is it global in the same proportion everywhere?
You're going to stump me on that. I'm not certain. I know that Ireland, it's particularly prevalent, but I don't. It is global. There's no question about
Right.
it. But if it's more
everything's
prevalent
global now.
yeah,
but,
fair
but
enough.
I mean, more historical than anything. But
yeah, not certain on that.
okay,
But
that'd be interesting to know.
yeah, and it would be, and
Because,
I'm
like
sure
I
we
said,
can find out.
I mean, I've grown up in different places in the world, so Europe, Boston area,
Yep.
and Latin America, and no one that I ever knew.
Interesting.
So, like, is it not? Anyway, that's the thought process for me. Happens like that. It's
Well, and it's possible too, Ed, that you might not have known.
True.
I mean, right? Because
No.
my
Where
sisters would
they're not
go,
out.
well, yeah, they're not
Advertising
advocating, and they're not.
Well, and
there's
you
no
don't-
social media about it. There was nothing.
and you don't look any different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's a very distinct cough associated with it that I can still identify today. If you cough, and I know a CF cough versus anybody else's
No,
cough,
wow.
100%.
Wow.
But yeah, it could be a classmate of yours, and if they're just a classmate, not somebody you know all that well, you might not know they have cystic fibrosis. Especially today, when my sisters were dealing with this, because of the digestive piece, they had to consume 30 enzymes per meal, so 90 plus a day. These
Enzymes, pills?
that they had to and now it's virtually nothing in terms of because of the advancements.
That's great news.
So yeah, it's incredible.
that
So you
is
could
amazing.
very
You mean the
quietly,
same enzyme count is?
exactly. It might be 2 or 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So if somebody just takes their little pill with their lunch and you don't notice that, whatever, they're just doing their thing. And the other treatments have always had to be done at home. There's compression for clearing the lungs of mucus and
Right.
whatnot. But yeah, so you might not know. But that's a really interesting question, and I'm not certain the answer.
Well, I'll tell you, you're definitely a founder when it comes to this. You're a community guy, a savior in many respects, I would say. And man, so glad that you joined us.
I'm so glad to be asked to do stuff
you
like this.
kidding?
No, I'm serious. Like, this is fantastic. It's
I was over
fantastic.
the moon
Well, I have
when
a
you said
million
yes.
more-
I was like, oh my god!
I have a million
I'm
more
not punching
questions.
above my weight here. This guy's awesome. He's not going to come in and do this. This incredibly world-renowned podcast.
This is number 9.
How many listeners do we have now? 6?
We have 113. He has
Okay.
112. We have 113.
I hate to break it to you, but I hit 136 today, pal. So those are verified now. You got to.
Yes, I have no verification. I have some downloads.
I should let you just real quick because I know we're wrapping up. But I used to make this joke, self-deprecating on the air that my 37 listeners on the show, and fast forward the story because I tend to drone on. But basically, I got called on it one day. Like, how many do you really have? So just for poops and giggles, we started to see if we could fill a list. And the next thing, like within 3 days, the 136 people self-identified. I don't know how many are out there, but I'll take the 136 that were willing to stick their neck out and say, yeah, I listened to you. I want to be on your list.
Okay, so for our FML listeners, can you just
do that? Look, Bill said 6. No, you said this is episode 9, and you said 6 listeners. No, you said 113.
I said 6 right now.
113. You said 6. I tend to exaggerate.
Let's shock the hell out of Bill. We need 114. Let's go.
Let's go, Mikey. Appreciate the support. Well, again, thanks so much, and we'll keep listening to you at 570 and listening, and let's get the kids involved with the hockey.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. And let's support Farwell for Hire when it comes out again. I always do.
I know you do. I see your name show up.
Yeah, do you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to put Mary's name on there. It's going to be incognito. She's the one that actually writes the checks. But anyways, dude, thanks so much. And thanks, Ed, Steve, again.
Hold on. I want to say thank you, too.
No.
Wait, you already said, I'm taking this bag of coffee with me, right? You said your thanks already,
This is for you. This is for you.
I got you the mugs. Those are your mugs.
Fantastic.
It was a pleasure to have you. It was a pleasure to sit and engage with you. It's a pleasure to watch you ply your craft because we're always learning and trying to get better at what we're doing here. So you make it seem so natural and easygoing. So really, honestly, we'd like to have you back at some point to see if we can get to 115. But in all seriousness, I also have lots more questions, and I'm a curious mind, and this whole concept of all the things that you've done for your family and your sisters, would love to ask more. And it's great to hear just honest, straightforward answers and no.
All authentic, baby.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. And Bill knows how to get in touch with me, so
great.
Anytime. I'd be happy to come back.
You might even convince,
what is it, the Force? Farwell
Force, yeah.
You might even convince me to get a radio in my car.
You should.
It's a 61 model. It didn't come with radio.
Not even AM radio back then.
No, not then,
Okay.
nothing. So
we'll have to get one of those 80s ghetto
radio.
blasters and bungee cord them to the back.
We'll figure it out. We will figure out a way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, you got you thinking now. All right. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
This isn't just coffee. It's the undisputed anthem of St. Jacobs, a rich, bold brew that bursts with the untamed spirit of our community. We've crafted a blend that doesn't just honor the village, it embodies its very character, standing strong and proud just like the people who call this place home. With every creamy dessert-like sip, you'll taste the sweet harmony that brings us all together. It's a real crowd pleaser, designed to ignite conversation and forge connections no matter how you brew it. This is the flavor of our village, shared amongst friends, family, and newcomers alike.